Let's talk Tanya for the 18th of Nisan of a leap year. So, let's recap where we are. Today we are going to be finishing chapter 41 of Tanya. And in this chapter we started off talking about Yira, awe and reverence for God, and we ended up talking about Ava, about love for God. And the point of this chapter is to explain why we need both. And if we want to put it in simple words right now, we understand that the first thing that we need is Yira. We need to have this awe and reverence for God because, as we explained previously, that's what creates the space for God. As long as I'm doing something only because I'm excited about it and I love it, it's all about me. So the first thing is we need to create that empty space, so to say, for God. That's where the holiness is. Once we have the Yira, then we need to fill that space also with ourselves. We need to bring ourselves into that space of holiness by bringing our own identity, personality, excitement, passion, love into it. And that's why these two constitute the wings that ultimately take a mitzvah and allow it to soar to the higher worlds. In today's Tanya, with which we conclude the chapter, the Alter Rebbe will tell us one last point about love. And that is, earlier in the chapter, we spoke about how it's natural. Every single Jewish person loves God and wants to connect to God. And therefore, that could be a motivation for doing mitzvahs. However, the Alter Rebbe said, that's not good enough because ultimately that's still a little too selfish. It's my desire to connect to God. Then the Alter Rebbe said, there's a higher level of a selfless love, which is that I want to connect all the Jewish people and all of creation to God through my learning Torah, doing mitzvahs. However, that the Alter Rebbe said, that's a very high level, which in its truest sense is only achievable and attainable for the holiest people. Now the Alter Rebbe, in today's Tanya, the Alter Rebbe is going to introduce a middle ground, which he says is also possible and completely natural for every Jewish person. And that is, to use an analogy of maybe a parent-child relationship. So you can have a child who loves a parent, and therefore I want to be close to my parent. It's all about me. It's not about my parent at all. Then there's the child who says it's not about myself at all. I love my parent, but it's a selfless love. All I want is, therefore, that my parents, their every need should be met. It's about them. It's not about me. That's the higher level. What is a middle ground? A middle ground is I want that my parents' will should be done, but I want that it should be me who does it. I want my parent not only to have nachas, I want them to have nachas from me. So on the one hand, it's selfless because it's something which, you're thinking about the parent. You want your parent to be happy, but you want to be part of that happiness. You want that happiness to come from you. And that's something also which the Alter Rebbe says every single one of us can have in our service of God, in our love for God. I love God, and therefore I want that he should have nachas and that his will should be done. And I want that my mitzvah should be the one to accomplish it. So with this, we've concluded the chapter, and now we understand why we need to have both Ava and Yira. And now the question is, okay, but how do we go about attaining Ava and Yira? And that's going to be the topic of the next approximately 8 chapters of Tanya, telling us how to attain Yiras Hashem, how to attain an awe for God, and how to attain an Avas Hashem, a love for God.